Now's the time for our presenters to do the exploring with us. Thank you for being here.
We're a tag team. Our reading is in the bulletin as Just Us Together because you and we have done things together for years, and we're here to acknowledge that and to thank you and to invite you to do some more. So our reading is going to be Begun Bad.
As we seek and celebrate justice, we are grateful for the gifts of our lives and the gifts of others in our lives.
Each of us is created with dignity and worth.
We are called to love each other and to do nothing to others that we would find hateful to ourselves.
We honor the many ways that people live and love.
We repent for the times when our faith traditions have named others unlike us as unworthy or excluded.
Love does not exclude. We are all worthy.
We suffer when others are oppressed, excluded, and shamed by those who overlook the fundamental call to justice in interfaith scriptures.
True justice flourishes when we can live with authenticity and integrity in relationships with others unlike ourselves.
We acknowledge that silence is complicity and that our words are evidence, our works are evidence of our commitments.
We acknowledge that working for justice brings us face to face with speaking truth to power and often against social and economic norms.
We acknowledge that change will not come, as Martin Luther King has said, on the wheels of inevitability, but through continuous struggle.
May we work together to build a community where we are all celebrated as full and equal members, where we recognize the many gifts of others, and where we work in service to those who need physical, legal, and emotional support in our community.
We celebrate diversity as a blessing that enriches all of us.
If you two could sit over there while I speak, then I will call on you. I chose diversity as the center for that reading because it seems like diversity is the kernel of the problem with social justice. Because if you look at history, and even current history, it seems like those with wealth and power ride on the backs of those who do not have it. And so we're talking about ways we can serve the world in two streams. One by charity, which is the easier stream to do. And the second one is by changing the structure of our society, which is, of course, the harder one to do. There's a joke I looked up this morning as, how many social activists does it take to change a light bulb? Well, that's a silly question. Everybody knows change doesn't happen. But change does happen, and this congregation and your leadership was so significant to the non-discrimination ordinance that lately got passed in Jackson, and we worked with you on that, and we thank you for that. Remember those late night meetings at the Michigan Theater where we met some of you? And we also have several projects that we have traditionally done together. One is Maggie mentioned it this morning when she said we're looking for a first Thursday in September when we do personal care ministry. And that has been something that you have been on our team. It's this church, First Congregational Church, and St. John's UCC. We have volunteers from those three churches on the first Thursday. And we thank you for that. There are 3 fundraisers coming up for the personal care ministry. And I noticed there was an insert in your bulletin, and there's white space on there so you can take notes with your to-do list. The first one is the fundraising is collecting bling for the bling sale that will be concurrent with the parade the Christmas parade that happens in November before Thanksgiving. So Westminster Church is the home for collecting gently used jewelry or jewelry that you don't want anymore and selling those concurrent with that parade. So save your jewelry. I know many of you have gone to the dinners at Finley's, and did you know Finley's is closed? So we had to find a new venue for fundraising dinners, and we now get 10% of the proceeds at Texas Roadhouse. And I brought coupons, which I'll leave someplace downstairs or on the back table. And the next one is September 16th, and the hours are 5 to 8. It used to be 5 to 10, but at the Texas Roadhouse, it's 5 to 8. And each check needs a coupon. It used to be that you just had one for the table, but now each check, if you're getting separate checks, each person needs a coupon. Okay, we'll have questions at the end, and now I'm going to hand off to Ed.
How many have participated in the crop walk in the past? Yeah, I think a lot of you. It's been around for a very long time. And I think in the 70s it started. It came, I guess, a background from Church World Service. Had to look up to see what was the acronym, and it is Christian Rural Overseas Program. They kept the acronym, but it no longer really is that specific mission anymore. It's much more global. A third of the proceeds go to often a country in Africa. A third go to national emergencies in this country, and a third of it stays here in Jackson. And that third, part of that third that stays in Jackson goes to the personal care mission, which we support, as do you. If you are interested, this year it will be the second Sunday in October, October 13th, and meet as usual at the First Methodist Church downtown. And there's a 3-mile loop and a 1-mile loop, depending on your ability. And years ago, it used to be 10 miles, and we would walk the 10 miles, and now it's the 3-mile or 1 mile. And there will be refreshments after the walk at First Congregational Church, just down the street and across after the crop walk. So if you're involved, stop by for that. Meeting for the church recruiters will be this Thursday at the Emmanuel Lutheran Church at 7 o'clock. Emmanuel Lutheran Church is on Brown in Michigan. So if you're looking to get involved, you might want somebody to go to this recruiters meeting on Thursday at 7 o'clock at Emmanuel. Oh, and there's a Tuesday lunch at First Congregational Church, a free lunch every Tuesday, and it started out with a dozen or two people, and without advertising, without promoting, without announcing. We have about 75 people a week from the street who are hungry come in and have a free lunch. And this is all volunteer supported. And it's like the loaves and fishes. I don't know how this manages to continue, but it does. So if that is something you are interested in, it is every Tuesday, downtown First Congregational Church. And if you like to cook or clean up or want to be of service or donate, they'll gratefully accept any help and donations. It's really, I don't know how they keep managing to feed 75 people a week, but it is happening. It's one of those things. What else, Christine? Reparations, I want to talk about reparations.
No, I'm going to talk about something else first.
All
Then
right.
you...
All right.
If you're counting, how many fundraisers did the personal care have? Did we just talk about? We talked about the bling, the Roadhouse, and the crop walk, and I forgot one, and it is the gospel choir, which people from this church have participated in too. So our choir director at First Congregational is going to be asking singers if you want to join the gospel concert, which raises money for the personal care also. That's going to be in October. Okay, now I'm going to talk about another project that the JCRA, the Jackson Civil Rights Awareness Association, started, Bridges to Justice, which is prison reform and service to people sentenced from Jackson. And that has come down to be Jackson Transitions. Jackson Transitions is also a citywide group. It is operated by a person who was in prison for 7 years. As a youth, did some crazy things. And he tells that story. It's almost like a comedian telling a story because it's laughable what happened. But it was serious because he was in prison in the Michigan Department of Corrections for 7 years and got out. He got 2 degrees from college. He went to Wayne Law School and this year has been passed the bar and now is he's working at Star Commonwealth and is waiting to see if he can get licensed, which is an issue since he's a felon. His name is Robert Van Summeren. And he started a newsletter to people sentenced from Jackson, and there are about 200 people on our list now. And we are giving that up soon. We've published for 3 years, and we have 2 books that are the compilation of the first 2 years, and we're now putting together a 3rd book, which we put in the libraries of the prisons. At the end of this year, we're not going to be doing newsletters anymore, but we are going to be writing letters to those people who request it. So if anybody's interested in writing letters to people who have been sentenced from Jackson, that's something you can sign up for on the list I'm going to put downstairs after this service.
There is training and suggestions if you want to correspond with an inmate. We can give you some do's and don'ts.
Another project that Jackson Transitions did, which you have participated in, is the Christmas gifts for children of prisoners who are from Jackson. And you supplied a number of them. Nina Obitz was the chair of that here, and we are grateful for that. And that we got some letters that thanked us, and people where we delivered presents were overjoyed, and we're going to do that again next year for maybe more. So we hope you'll be involved in that too. That's all charity. Structure for prison reform involves changing laws and policies that affect families, children, as well as people that are sentenced. If any of you heard NPR this morning, Bernie Sanders was talking about his ideas for prison reform. But there are several organizations, Citizens for Prison Reform, which meets in Jackson, and Safe and Just Michigan, which is the former Citizens for Public Spending in Prisons. Those are 2 organizations that we support, and I encourage you to support them too, that are working to change things for families and change the laws. And that might be coming pretty soon. So every voice counts in changing norms that leads to changing laws. And that's where we come in as individuals. And now we're going to hear about a project in Jackson that is over the top with joy, and that is Carol Baker.
Over the top, I have been accused of that before, so. Try to keep it down in church, though. Thank you very much. My name is Carol Baker. I'm the director of the Jackson Pride Center. And today is the beginning of our Jackson Pride Week, which is a direct result of the passage of the NDO, which Cynthia Latham and this congregation was so generously involved in and that we are so very grateful for. This is our 3rd year, and we have decided to just go crazy and over the top and make it a full week instead of one day. Our first event starts this afternoon at 1 o'clock is an interfaith dialogue ice cream social at the First Presbyterian Church on West Michigan Ave in Jackson. And I know that there are 3 or 4 different denominational speakers that will be there, including, I'm trying to think, I think there's even going to be a pagan speaker. But we have ice cream that's donated by the parlor, so can't turn down free ice cream, right? That's 1 to 4 at the First Presbyterian Church. Tomorrow night, we have a Art Mart and Poetry Slam at K Gallery on Page Avenue. And what we're doing is we're having different people from the, different people and youth from the community come and show their art and speak their poetry and speak their words. And there's going to be a food truck and some mocktails and, yes, ma'am? That's Tuesday from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Pardon me? Monday, Monday is not on this little thing, but Monday, we're actually having an open house at our office at 576 United, North Jackson Street at United Way. I believe that starts at 6 o'clock. 5? Okay. I get my cheat sheet here, okay. 5 o'clock, okay. I apologize, I'm double booked that, so I have I'm also associated with the Jackson County Democrats, so I have a double meeting that night, so I'm going to be going back and forth, so that was my fault, confusion. The film festival, it says time to be announced. The doors are going to be open at 6, and I believe the movie is going to start at 6:30. We're going to have 2 films. One is going to be the Breaking the Silence, an oral history of LGBTQ veterans and service members prevented by the VA from Ann Arbor, the healthcare system. And they are also proud sponsors of the Jackson Pride this year, and we welcome their sponsorship. And for the second feature, we decided to lighten it up a little bit and have everyone relax and enjoy themselves, and we're going to lighten it up with Tu Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar. And admission is $5, and the snack booth will be available, provided by the Michigan Theater, and we're really looking forward to that. It's Thursday night. Friday night, we're having a big event. We're having a drag queen pageant at Bella Notte in downtown Jackson. The Jackson Drive-In, they call it, the Cruise-In, where everybody drives their hot rods and their souped-up cars and everything and shows off their cars in downtown Jackson. It's going to be going just previous to that. But our doors open at 7, and the stage starts at 8. And we will be having drinks and music and the show upstairs at Bella Notte. And food will be available downstairs. We won't have the restaurant serving upstairs, but you're free to go downstairs and bring back appetizers or whatever you'd like. And we will be crowning Mr. and Miss Jackson. Saturday is our big day. That is, for those of us who will be working, we'll be up at 6 o'clock lining putting up snow fence and getting ready. Our parade kicks off at 11 o'clock, and we're going to be starting out on I want to say Morrell, Biddle, and I can't even think of it, I'm sorry. We're right outside St. John's Church anyway. Morrell? No, Mechanic, I'm sorry. I've been having that glitch all week. 801 Mechanic, I believe, is their address. We're going to start lining up at 10, and 11 o'clock is the kickoff. We will be going down Mechanic Street a few blocks to the Jackson Coffee Company, which is Cortlandt Street. And then we'll be turning right there, which will be east, and going 1 block over to Francis, which is now Martin Luther King Drive. And then we'll be turning left and going down there a block or 2 to Michigan Avenue, where the Summer Night Tree is, and turning left and just going to the parking lot right next to the parking lot of Jackson Post Office there. And then at 12 o'clock, we will have we will open up the Pride Fest at the CP Federal Park, where it's been the same location it's been the last 2 years. And we will have 3 or 4 speakers that we're limiting to 5 minutes each, so we're not going to get too bogged down in speakers. And then we're going to have music and performers, and it's going to be a great day, and there's going to be vendors. I believe we have approximately 40 vendors that have committed to showing up. We have a lot of nonprofit agencies that will be showing up, trying to expand their awareness into the LGBT community. And that will go probably until about 9:30 at night. And it's going to be a great day we'll have food trucks, and we have music, and there's going to be a beer tent. We'll have beer and wine, and I think some hard cider. It'll be a great time, and lots of music and people watching. So I believe there's an after show also, if you're interested in after shows. That will be at 9:30 at, I believe, the Town Bar on Cortlandt. So I have flyers and the times and addresses and posters and everything. So if you have any questions or any questions about what the Jackson Pride Center actually does when we're not having the festival, because this is just one aspect of our social activism. This is just our yearly party. Other than this, we're working, the Jackson Pride Center is working diligently on housing and legal rights and health issues. We've been working with the Center for Family Health and Henry Ford Allegiance. We've been working with all the local police departments. We've been working with the Aware Shelter. We've been working with all the local agencies just about. And so we're very proud of establishing our working relationship with all those community agencies, and we're very proud of that. And if you have any questions, please see me afterwards. Thank you.
There's a real scary word that causes people to gasp, look away, bow their head. It's reparations, because people think that's when we give black people a check. It's so much more than that. It's so much way beyond giving black people a check, although it would help. But when we look at what we have done to black people for 400 years, since 1620, intentionally made laws to discriminate against people of color for the last 400 years with great intention. We made it hard for people of color to do everything that we don't even think about having as a privilege, like healthcare and education and buying a home or living where you want to live. And because of that, we have this huge welfare system that is at great cost supporting so many people of color, not to mention the cost of incarceration that's way skewed against people of color. And it costs about $35,000 a year to keep somebody in prison every year for hundreds of thousands of inmates. What I'm talking about is stop treating the symptoms and let's take a look at the problem. And there is legislation, House Bill H.R. 40, after 40 acres and a mule, that's been around for a decade or more, which is a proposal that we have a study group to talk about reparations. That can't even get out of committee. They don't even want to talk about talking about it. It's always bugged me. It's always bugged me. I grew up in the UP where the only thing black were roads and bears. I couldn't understand why are white people so mean to black people? I didn't get it because we didn't have any black people. I had no bad experiences. I had no experiences. People didn't talk about people of color. We made jokes about Finlanders and Polacks, but there weren't any black jokes because nobody knew any. How things changed as I grew up and became educated and lived for 20 years in Flint, Michigan, and the last 20-some years here in Jackson. So it came through a study group at JACRA, the Jackson Area Civil Rights Awareness Group, which started about 2013, where we invited as many community do-gooders. And there's a lot of do-gooders in Jackson. So we got a bunch of them together and we started meeting every week and we did amazing projects. And there were a lot of spin-off groups, People of Peace, others where we got together and made a plan and did something. So it occurred to me last fall that I wanted to talk about reparations, and right away it's like, you don't even want to go there because there will be a lot of backlash. Reparations, my grandparents, I'm second generation. I don't have anybody who went back to the Civil War in those days. Why would I be concerned about it? It's not my fault. Well, guess what? It's all of ours fault. All of us have the responsibility to study and see what we can do to work on the problem and not just the symptoms. I don't know what 40 acres and a mule would cost today, but that might be an interesting place to start a discussion. There's so many ways to look at it. We had a meeting at the library, co-sponsored by the library and NAACP, and who else? Nation Outside. And we had, the auditorium was packed. We had 65 people and put up chairs, and 1,000 people tuned in online streaming. And 1,000 people tuned in to this discussion that included Mayor Derek Dobies and Cindy Eby, who were talking about reparations, how, when, and where in Jackson. It was very interesting. The discussion was very orderly, very calm, and very insightful, and we will have another meeting of this topic on reparations. When is that, Christine? Tomorrow. August 19th, that's tomorrow, 3 p.m. at the Carnegie Auditorium, to just see where do we go from here. We've got some interest, we have participation. There's a lot of information, there's a lot of research, there's a lot of data, a lot has been written. But let's see what we can do right here, right now. A few of the candidates have even mentioned the R word in their platform, but it is not widely discussed or talked about. It's just that underlying current that is really the problem that people just don't want to talk about because we don't have the answer. It's not a quick fix. No matter what we do, it will take at least a generation to begin to right the wrongs that 400 years of legal discrimination have caused us. If you're interested, join us tomorrow. Is that it, Christine? Thank you.
We've been watching Jamestown on PBS, and in one of the episodes, this marshal, there's a governor, a secretary, and a marshal that are the leaders, and the marshal says, "We lie. That's what we always do. Our leader is lie." So it happened even then. Well, there are 2 websites you can take notes of because there are materials that we've talked about online, and they are at jacraa.com. That's JACRA, Jackson Area Civil Rights Awareness Association, jacra.com. And the Pride Center has a wonderful website also with all their activities and news on it. So those are places you can go for information. And we will take questions now. Are there any questions or comments? I heard that, while you're thinking of any questions, I heard that Dana Nussel is going to be the Grand Marshal of the parade, and she's going to speak downtown. She's exciting.
What about the caucus, the women's caucus? Is that on the announcement?
No, Ed wants me to say that we're having the Democratic Women's Caucus, they're having a fundraiser at our house next Sunday from 2 to 5. Tickets are $10. Ask us for them. Okay, questions? Yeah.
That's a really good question. You could, if you mean money or supplies? Money. You could make it to First Congregational Church and in the memo, put the Tuesday lunch program. And then get it to you? Sure, I'll mail it to 120 North Jackson Street. And what is that? That's First Congregational Church. This is an amazing thing. It's just.
It used to be where members of the church brought things for a potluck and gossiped and stuff, on Tuesdays for lunch. And then poor people started coming, and now we have maybe 100 people that come in from the streets. And it costs about $200 a week. And Ken Grinnell and Nancy Vader do that, and he must spend a lot of his own money because people from the church bring food. And Ken cooks and Nancy cooks. They go to the store, they buy stuff, they come and cook and have this lunch. And we have people that come in on Sunday for our coffee hour that come in for the Tuesday lunches. A lot of people that come to the personal care ministry too.
It's the downtown location. It's just really accessible to many people of low income.
Any other questions? Good. Well, I hope you can see that of the things that we participate in, charity seems to be the most active kind of activity. But the really important one is changing the structure, and changing the norms can contribute to changing the structure. And the talk that you do with your friends and with people that push back on things like reparation is critical to changing norms. So I thank you for all you've done in that area, and wish you best as you continue to do that. So thanks for your welcome. We feel like this is our family too, because we've done so much together, and we look forward to seeing you at the activities we've described. Thanks.